why does anyone gain weight? Why is it that when you're caring for someone else, that your physical matter can either go extremely thin or extremely large? Why are there images of Buddha and all of these people with a massive spiritual people with a lot of weight on them? Why in the past was spirituality associated with girth in the body? There's so much to unpack around your body's intelligence, your weight, and what happens when you're caring for another. In the energy world, we get everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. When you are actively taking on caring for another and asking, I call it sometimes petitioning God, petitioning love for more time with that person. When you're petitioning, you tend to bring in more of the things that are God-made. Food, you're trying to tune into intuition through your digestive tract. It's no longer just from listening to them and the other person that you're trying to help's energy field. You're trying to connect through everything. So you might wind up hoarding things, storing a lot of things that you don't need. You might go shopping. You might go on these journeys of collecting because the chemicals in your body are saying, you got to tune in, you got to tune in, you got to stay tuned in. And so you and all of society has conditioned itself to say tuned in comes from something outside myself, evidence. Let me say all of that another way, right? When you do not feel great in your body, you begin to pray a lot. Isn't that funny? Right? When you don't feel great, you're calling for connection. And so somebody that you care about started calling out, I don't feel good, I don't feel good, I need connection. And so you or your pet or their pet becomes the surrogate. And one of the two extremes happens. Either you gain a great deal of weight because you're wanting to protect them, protect yourself, protect the connection, and you invite in a lot of stuff into your environment, physical stuff. I want to say all of that another way. You've got to become great at giving from your overflow. And you've got to recognize when you're not in overflow. And the biggest gift that you can recognize for yourself is love does not equal suffering. Some people think if you love someone, you must suffer for them. You must sacrifice an aspect of yourself to give to them. At no point do you need to suffer for another human being. It's so funny, but in Christianity, it's Christ came, jumped on the cross, suffered for you so you would not suffer. Love does not mean to suffer. In every culture, in every tradition, guilt is removed now. Even the Roman Catholic I love this Pope because I love St. Francis and I love the Capuchin monks, and St. Francis appears to me, Mother Mary appears to me. Oh my gosh, St. Michael has been appearing, Archangel Michael, a lot recently. And why am I sharing that? I'm sharing all of this because the energy of being stable, the energy of you don't need something outside yourself to connect. Eating a lot of food allows you to feel the suffering of another by becoming suffered in your body. Let me say all of that another way. Because you can't control what's going on outside you, you begin inviting in things that you can control. You can control how much food goes in. You can control what comes in and out of your house. You can control how much you're walking and not walking. What's the point? What you can't necessarily control is the cortisol levels, stress levels. So you have to build a practice in place that reduces the components within you that cause you to gain weight. Oh, let me use that word another way. Gain, W-A-I-T, weight. You have to wait more. To truly heal and be connected, you've got to be present, patient, in the moment more. And this is the most important time to not take anything personally and to say, oh my gosh, you've loved so deeply, to say a prayer that allows Christ to come in and carry the suffering. Cynthia, does that sound right for you?
Yes, that does.
So, Dr. Sarah?
Yes.
May I chime in for a moment, if that's okay?
Sure.
Maybe I'm just because I know you or Cynthia, and but this kept coming through for me, and I've had a lot of friends and family who've struggled with weight, and a lot of them tend to have had trauma in their life that sometimes they don't get to deal with. And sometimes we don't even know where the trauma is coming from until we really start digging. And I know you've done work on yourself, and you're actually a great seer and psychic yourself. But there's sometimes we can sometimes we can think that it's because the person we're with is causing us to have this experience. But sometimes it's because when they reflect back to us our unhealed trauma. And therefore we can tend to put weight on because I believe that weight is stored trauma in the body, especially like, I'm not saying this is the case for you, but I do know people who've been sexually traumatized when they were younger and they put on a great deal of weight. And one thing I liked the analogy of thinking of like a pumpkin during this time of harvest where we carve out all of that dead weight, quote unquote, which is the inside of the pumpkin, and we light the light of the lantern, and we light the pumpkin to illuminate our shadows. And maybe perhaps there's something there deeper that's reflecting back to you in these relationships. Sometimes we get these relationships that break us down because they're just reflecting back to us ourself, and sometimes they're karmic. And when we finally start to clear out those things, we do attract a partner that mirrors our highest self. I know because I've been there so many times. But and oddly enough, I'm like, since having the baby and being in a good relationship, I'm the smallest I've ever been. It's really odd. I'm like I weighed less, and I almost feel like maybe I'm sick, I'm just like, knock on, just kidding on that. But
I'm gonna say,
no, I get it. You're in a healthy place, and everything around you, you're pulling in health to you. So
yeah,
I
had a lot of trauma that I had to work through, and when I did that, it kind of really helped. I mean, I still have it. It takes a long time to really dig deep in there. You know, ayahuasca and medicine, all these different tools, hypnotherapy, all these things, they really do help. And so, yeah, sometimes you just have to see what really is within us, and then not putting that power on somebody else to have that power over what you do in your body. But Sarah was, everything she said definitely made sense with
I love
with
you,
everything else. But
for
I'll
taking
end
the
there.
Hippocratic oath as well and being part of Miracle Makers for so long. And Cynthia, this is the key takeaways that I think Alana is bringing forward for you. As Alana has had trauma in her life, and as she's worked through these different journeys, she's released the trauma so beautifully. She's learned hypnosis, dance, movement. She let herself be loved, make a baby. She let herself live the dream of being. I remember there was a point she said, is it okay just to be a housewife or just to invite that energy? She gave herself permission to be herself unapologetically. And Cynthia, this is the keys in you sacrifice over and over again. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to sacrifice. I over and over, and it's like I've come to the point where what I realized, and like my epiphany was that sometimes you should be there for people, but you shouldn't sacrifice yourself for that. That's not, I don't think that's what I don't think that's what Christ wants for us or source wants for us. I think we should be there
Cynthia,
for us,
right.
but he
And
wants us to be in health.
you can trace your bloodline back to that consciousness. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can.
And so just stay with me in this questions. You can trace your lineage and your body and DNA back to the ancestral trauma, correct?
I can see past lives where I was sacrificed.
And so in this lifetime, what's occurring is a merging of all of the timelines. Is that correct?
Yeah, because
through prayer and the request to clear all karma and to be of greatest service, you've put this beautiful request energy into the field. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I saw something in each timeline, and it's kind of a repetition, and I don't want it anymore.
Bravo, right? Hello.
Right.
You're in the right place at the right time, at the right month, at the right balance, all of these astrological things. So what are you going to practice? And my darling, if I have a retreat coming to New Orleans, it's empowerment of all the timelines, you and all the timelines, rewriting a person and all of their timelines. It's at the end of October. I'm doing it for my mama. I'm doing it for everyone that comes for the whole, and I highly recommend if you can get time off, come to this retreat.
Okay.
Yes. The other part is so important. What are the stories you're telling yourself? And Alana started really jumping into that as well. And some of the stories have got to be connected more clearly with your gifts than the loss. Let me say that another way. You have to rewrite all of these suffering stories for what you gained. You gained value out of each one of them, or else your life would not be going forward.
Right. So how I look at it, how I recently started saying, it I know I poured myself into those things, but I've also realized that I'm strong. Like I'm like, you can't break me. Like it's where I've noticed, like, my ex, I'm like, no, I don't want that negative energy anymore. That's not the kind of thing that I want in my life. I want to pull nothing but positive. I want positive people, upbuilding people. You can't break me. My ex, like when I was married, you didn't break me either. I came out of that and I've done the work for that. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm not going to go down that road. Even when I was notified of a death in that family of a person that meant a lot to me, I gave my condolences, but I'm like, I cannot be pulled down into that. I have my own
Cynthia,
family.
let this season be a great unfriending season for you.
Yeah,
Unfriend
I have cut so many people out of my life.
and
Um,
habits and thoughts and words.
right.
Unfriend words. Unfriend a lot, because you've carried so much through so many lifetimes. And this lifetime, rename yourself between now and your next birthday.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's gonna be soon.
I know. Rename
And
yourself and celebrate it as a new life.
yeah, and I'm even been more careful as to how I approach prayer and how the words I'm choosing. Um,
And
like,
Alana is
just
here,
careful.
so reach out to Alana. She really wants to be here for you. So make sure you guys exchange numbers and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to. Yeah, any way you can help out, my dear.
Okay.
It's really interesting because this is for everybody, you know, like we actually don't realize how much we are affected by those past timelines, because we're not really taught reincarnation, or even if it's not reincarnation, we're not really taught how we are affected by our ancestors' decisions. And we have to break these, what
Tell
Dr. Sarah calls
right.
unspoken and spoken agreements. So
I
then we have
tell
to, you know, bring awareness to them.
They're like generational curses. I thought, like, when I first initially worked on generational curses, I was about like 19, 20. And I would pray to break generational curses. I thought of like the last 4, 5, 10 generations to break them. My
Thank you
it's
for
not
doing that work, Cynthia. And we're going to move forward. Alana,
okay.
please put your number in the chat. Cynthia, put your number in the chat. We're going to end. The joy of this is all of it is for everyone. You gave so much to everyone. Thank you for this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Josephine, we're going to jump to you. I love that you're taking notes. And I'm going to stop the recording right here.